Hey everybody, my name is Mike Montgomery, and today we're going to be making this stool made out of wood and paracord for the seat. This is going to be a lot of fun. Let's get started on Modern Builds. So I'm going to be building this out of a piece of 4/4 maple, meaning it's 1 inch thick. So I started by just drawing some reference lines for square. Then I could start drawing my cutting template. Now I'm not making a digital template or modeling this. I think sketching is a valuable skill and something people should practice. So if you plan on building this yourself, make sure and go to the written article because I am going to give some measurements and some reference material. That way you'll be able to draw this as well. Once I had it all drawn, I could cut it out on my new Ryobi bandsaw. For the most part, I didn't worry too much about cutting exactly on the line. I'll be using the spindle sander and the disc sander to sand everything to the line and smooth. And once I had my front piece and my side piece, I used those as a template to make duplicates. The paracord is going to be weaved through holes on each of the pieces of the seat. And I'm marking these out. I'll have all the measurements in the written article for that too, so make sure and check that link in the description. There's a couple ways you can make these cutouts. I chose to use my drill press and just drill out the holes. I later came back with a rasp and then some sandpaper to smooth everything out. You could also use a jigsaw if that's all you have, or a scroll saw would work well too. After I used the rasp to smooth everything out, I came back and rounded over all of those inside corners. That way, over time, it doesn't damage the paracord. These pieces are pretty funky because of all the contours I had, so before I drilled all of my screws and glued all the pieces together, I made sure and clamped them. That way nothing could move and I knew everything would stay lined up. I used the drill bit from my pocket hole jig to recess all the screws. That way I could come back later and plug them up with dowels to make it look really nice. And then I used a flush trim saw to cut them all flush, and the seat was basically done. And with that, let's have a word from our sponsor. Ancestry DNA is an at-home DNA kit that can tell you more about where in the world your ancestors might have come from. All you have to do is collect and ship a small saliva sample in a kit that they send to you, and in 6 to 8 weeks, you get your DNA results sent straight to your inbox. About a month or so ago, I got the opportunity to do a kit for myself. I went over all my results and built a Bauhaus-inspired bench based on those results. If you haven't seen that video yet, click this link right here, go check it out, and then come back. At the end of the video, I asked you guys if you had any awesome designers or pieces of inspiration that I should check out based on my results. And you guys gave me a ton of awesome feedback in the comments and on my Instagram. This week's project was inspired by a lounge chair and footstool designed by Douglas Snelling, who really embodies the whole idea behind ancestry and the spread of culture and ideas, in my opinion at least. Snelling was born in England, where I found out I had ancestry, and later moved to New Zealand, then Australia, where he was one of the first and few furniture designers and architects in the 40s and 50s to incorporate that mid-century look from Europe and the US into his own designs in Australia. I really like Snelling for one because, well, his work is really great. I'll throw up some pictures on the screen, but also because he wasn't classically trained or didn't go to any prestigious design school. Like me, he took in inspiration from his environment and places that he went, and then incorporated that into his work to make his own style and his own unique pieces, which I think is really cool. So if you're interested at all in finding out more about your ancestry or personal history, go down to the link in the description, www.ancestry.com/builds. Kits are normally $99, but they're throwing a special offer for you guys, my viewers. I've really enjoyed getting a better understanding of my heritage with Ancestry DNA and being able to find some really cool inspiration just like this piece. So go check it out. So at this point, the basic construction of the seat is done, so I need to start drawing the cutting template for the legs. And I drew a really simple taper. It's about 2 inches at the top of the leg and 1 inch at the bottom of the leg. And once I made one, I used that to duplicate 3 more. Now I wanted to add some support to this whole leg assembly, so I decided to add a stretcher that'll be glued in with a lap joint. Or maybe a dado, you tell me. If you know, leave it in the comments, because I'm curious. Essentially, I just used the bandsaw to cut out a recess for that stretcher to fit into, and I made sure that it was really snug. I snuck up on that cut. Next, I'm using my pocket hole jig to drill some pocket holes for the top of the leg assembly. I just cut this little spacer block out after I laid out my legs and found the angle that I wanted, and then I just transferred that to a piece of wood and cut it out. Once I had my 2 pieces, I could then put them together with the stretcher. I just put some wood glue and clamped it all as square as I could possibly get it. Then, once that glue dried and I sanded everything up to 220 grit, I put on a coat of boiled linseed oil. Now, the seat for the original stool that I'm taking inspiration from was made out of chair webbing, but I wanted to switch that up. I've been wanting to use paracord for a little while on a project, and I think this is the perfect opportunity. So I just made a simple trucker's knot at one end of the length of cord, then I used that to feed all of the rest of the cord through, and then I just started weaving. It's a really simple pattern. I would go over, then under with each pass. Really simple stuff, but it does kind of take a while. My first attempt was a little sloppy, and it took a couple mess ups before I realized the most efficient way of doing everything. But essentially, you're just looping over and over and over again until you fill up that space. Then, after each section is finished, I would tie it off with a double hitch knot, which you can Google and find out more about. I'm not even going to try and teach knots because this was really my first time doing all of these anyways. I just used scissors to cut off the excess cord, then a lighter to burn off the end so that it wouldn't unravel. Now, going across with the paracord, the opposite direction was a little different. I weaved the cord over and under, alternating each strand, if that makes sense. The pattern is really simple here. You can kind of see it. I would go over one section, then under the next. Just like on the other sections, I would start with a trucker's hitch, then end with a half hitch. Once the seat was all weaved, I could attach it to the leg assembly. I started by putting a little bit of wood glue on, a little bit goes a long way, then lining up the seat. Because of all the contours, it was kind of hard to figure out an exact measurement that I could tell you. I just lined everything up by eye, made everything as symmetrical as I could, then screwed it into the base. One screw in each leg, as well as one in each of the cross sections at the top of the legs. So there you go, all complete. I am so happy with how this came out. All the contours, all the paracord, it was a lot of stuff that I had never tried before, and it came out awesome. Speaking of paracord, if you're gonna build this, make sure and check the link in the description or the written article for the paracord I used. It's gonna be way cheaper on Amazon than any store you're gonna buy it from, so check that out. And if you're curious, the reason I built this was for playing guitar, and it's perfect for that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this project. Paracord was something that I've wanted to work with for a while, and this seemed like the perfect project to integrate it with. Going into it, I really had no idea whether the paracord weaving idea would actually work, so I wanted to try the footstool before I did a big, massive lounge chair. But now that I know it works, who knows, maybe I'll give that a shot sometime. One more big thanks to Ancestry DNA for sponsoring this video and supporting awesome content. If you're interested at all, like I said, go down to the link in the description, ancestry.com/builds, and get a special offer on a DNA kit for yourself. And if you do decide to try one and you want to share your results, use the hashtag MyAncestry to be able to share and connect with other people as well. If you're not already listening to my podcast, the Modern Maker Podcast, you should be. I'll have links to that down in the description as well. It's a weekly show that I do with Ben Ueda and Chris Salamone. We post on Thursdays and Saturdays with a funky weekend show every week. In other news, I'm going to have new Modern Builds merch very soon. Check out the hat. Hopefully next week around Monday or Tuesday. I'm going to have a hat, 2 shirt designs, a coffee mug, which I'm excited about, and a sticker pack. I'm going to be teasing that on my Instagram as well as a little release video next week. So be on the lookout for that, and I appreciate any of the support that you guys give. If you guys have a question, make sure you leave that in the comments. I'm going to try and answer as many as I can. If you liked this video, a thumbs up is great. That lets YouTube know this was a good video. And finally, if you're new to the channel and you're not already subscribed, I'd really welcome you to do that. You can click here, and if you want to hit the bell notification, that way you get notified when I post, feel free to do that as well. No pressure. Thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you next week on Modern Builds.